So when I talk about scammers and schemers, we all have an idea. We all think about it in our head. Oh, this is what they look like. It's not some 22-year-old guy in his underwear in his mom's basement, okay? That is not who these people are. The scammers and schemers nowadays, it's organized crime. They're well-funded, they're well-trained, and it's groups, okay? It is not singles, it's not solos. They know exactly what they're doing, they know how to do it, they do their research, they do their homework, and they know what they're going after. And it's big business. It's huge business. All right, I've got last year I had one romance scam victim of $865,000. I had a lottery scam victim of $700,000. This is not pulled off by single solo people. They need groups to get money, move money, con the people. And we're going to talk about all the scams in just a moment. But they absolutely know who they're targeting, and it's you. Again, it's not me. Okay, it is not me. Because again, I don't have access to those kind of funds. Now, I have a lot of people when I give presentations, they like to say, "Oh, I know all the scams. They'll never get me. It's not a, I'm too smart for that. I'm not gullible. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm here to tell you, the guy in the middle of all of it, who understands all of it. Okay, it's not that. It doesn't have to do with your intelligence. It doesn't have to do with your gullibility." So I'm going to talk about that for a second. What they try to do in any scam, the scammer tries to take what should be a logical, rational decision, and they make it emotional.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example. How many of y'all have ever bought a brand new car? Okay? When you go to the car dealership, what's the first thing they want to do? They want to put you in that brand new car, right? They want to put you in it and show you all the little gadgets, and you turn on the little butt warmer and the air-conditioned seats, because we don't need butt warmers here in Florida. They want you to get emotionally attached to the vehicle. Take it home, take it for a test drive, take it for the weekend. They don't want to talk logically. They don't want to tell you how much they're going to charge you and what your interest rate is. That's logical, okay? That's dollars and cents, and you can put on a spreadsheet. They want you emotionally attached to that vehicle, because then you're more likely to purchase that vehicle, right? That's the exact same thing that most salesmen do, and it's also the exact same thing that all my scammers do. And in each scam, I'll walk you through kind of how that happens. But it doesn't have to, again, it's not how gullible you are, it's not your intelligence, it's not, oh, they have dementia, oh, they have Alzheimer's. It's two things. Number one, they try to take any logical decision that us sitting in this room would say, well, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't fall for that, that's nonsense, and they make it emotional so that we're out of that rational state of mind. That's number one. And number two, they get us in that time in our life when we have so many things going on, we're not 100% focused on what is actually happening. Everybody talks about multitasking. Oh, we like to do 20 different things at once. I mean, even in our cars, we're talking and texting and driving and doing, we don't focus on one single thing anymore. We do 80 things at the same time. I'm going to give you an example, and this is me. 24 years in law enforcement since 1998. I almost fell for one. So I had two scammers, and beautiful scam. Absolutely one of the more intelligent scams I have run across. So they went to one of my independent living facilities, which had about 250 seniors, apartment style. They drive in. One of the guys would get on the phone, and he got the little phone book for that location, and he started calling them. And he would say, "Hey, I'm Todd, and I'm with Discover Fraud Services. Did you use your Discover card in Tacoma, Washington to buy 2 surfboards?" "No, I didn't use my Discover card to buy 2 surfboards." He said, "Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and shut that card off, okay, because we do realize it is fraud. We're going to FedEx you a brand new Discover card so that you have it within a day or two. And when you get your new card, put your old card in the return FedEx envelope because we need to make sure that you have possession of your card." Now, some of us are going, okay, but that we've thought a little bit of this through, but that's because we're sitting in here. So on the phone from Discover Fraud Services, and your caller ID says Discover Fraud Services, we think, okay. So each day they would hit about 15 or 20 different ones. Well, the one guy would call, and then the other guy had his little FedEx hat and his little FedEx sweatshirt and FedEx envelopes that were already pre-printed addressed to Discover Fraud Services, and he'd go up to the door and be like, here you go, this is for your card. You have to put your card in here and send it back. And they would drop their Discover card in it, seal the envelope, hand it to the courier. They'd do this to about 10 or 15 people. Then they'd, of course, open all the envelopes, and then they would drive up Highway 301, Walgreens, CVS, and they would buy thousands of dollars worth of gift cards. So when I get involved, I've got 66 victims, I've got over $200 million worth of loss, and I'm going crazy on this thing. So because they're still doing it, and so I finally identified one of them. He was on probation, and the probation officer said, yeah, that's him, because I got video from Walgreens and CVS and everything. But the state attorney and the judge would not let me get a warrant on both of them until I identified both of them. So the second guy, I'm like, I don't know, but he may be on probation. This may be an alias, whole lot of just legal logistical stuff. So I'm in my car, and I'm driving to the probation officer, which is all the way up here at Floraland Home Depot 275, which is 45 minutes from Sun City Center. Okay, it's a long way. All right, I'm on the phone with the state attorney's office. I'm emailing, they give us a computer for our car, and then they tell us not to text. But okay, I digress. I'm emailing, warrants and this, a million things going on, right? Because I want to stop them, want to get them in jail. And I get a phone call. Hey, this is Capital One Fraud Services. Oh, of course, why not? Right now, great timing. Okay, your accounts have been compromised, but I'm sending you the OTP. Give me that number. Is when they send the text that gives you the number. Well, this one comes via email. All right, and luckily, oh my goodness, thank goodness, Capital One on the top of the email put, Capital One will not ask you for this number. So I was talking to him, I was opening my email, I was going to give him that number, which meant he would have gotten into my online banking at Capital One and been very, very disappointed. But it goes to show you that I wasn't focused on what was going on because I had so many other things going. I'm a white collar detective. What? I should have known from the get-go that was a scam, but I didn't. I actually took steps to give him that number because I had so many other things that were going on in my brain. And it happens to all of us, every single one of us. So they take something that's logical, rational. I mean, your Capital One's been compromised. Okay, so they're taking my $5 that I've got left in there. That's emotional. And, then I've got other things going on. So I'm not completely focused. Those are the two methods that our bad guys use to get you sucked into one of their scams. So our biggest 4 scams in Hillsborough County and Sun City Center and with my seniors. Number 1 is romance scam. Romance scam came on the scene about 9 or 10 years ago. And every year has gotten more victims and has had more losses. In 2017, it became the #1 perpetrated scam, not only in victims, but also in losses for all of the United States. And it continues to climb. It's a very nasty scam because not only do they take someone's money, but they have someone believing that they're their soulmate, that they're their person, that they're, so it's an extreme emotional attachment. So, Deputy Mary, I'm not on any dating sites, I'm not on Tinder, I'm not on, how does this happen? Well, it doesn't happen on dating sites. It happens through social media. People aged 60 to 75 is the largest group getting on Facebook and Instagram. That age group, #1 people signing up for Facebook and Instagram because they want to feel like they're part and they're connected with their family, right? They want to see their granddaughter photos of what she had for lunch yesterday, and, selfies, and it makes you feel It makes you feel connected. It makes you feel like you're part of them. So that's why that age group is joining Facebook and joining Instagram, to be a part of the family. And I don't want to shy you away from social media, but I want to give you a little warning. Facebook has 2.3 billion user accounts. 2.3 billion. 17% of those are fake. 17% of those are fake or clone of the 2.3 billion. I'm not a math major, never was good at math. 650 million, roughly, fake and cloned accounts.
Wow.
My dad has 12 Facebook accounts and he's never been on social media before in his life. So that's what we're dealing with. And they come across and they'll either clone one of your friends, or they'll build a profile that looks like somebody that you could have been around in your past. Oh, hey, we went to middle school together. I don't know what I had for lunch yesterday, much less who sat next to me in middle school, okay? But, we're friendly and we're nice, okay, all right. And then they will slowly just start talking like any other relationship. Hey, how are you doing? How's the weather? Oh, I saw pictures of your grandkids. Oh, I've got ones too. Oh, you like to travel. I see that. Oh, we both like Ohio. Don't like Ohio State, but however, they honestly do a natural progression of a relationship. Why? Because they know the payoff in the end, and they'll spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months, talking, messaging, emailing, calling on the phone, and they will, if they know that they're going to get enough money, they will spend as much time on you as you want them to. And again, because it's a group, okay? It's not singularly solo one person. It is an absolute group. They have software that tells them what they've talked about, what your likes are, what your dislikes are, the progression of where they are in the, it is well funded, well trained, they know what they're doing. And then what'll happen, once they believe that y'all are enamored, that y'all are soulmates, that y'all are really, really, really good friends, then something will happen and they'll ask for money. Hey, my granddaughter fell off her horse, broke her leg, $4,000 copay for the surgeon. Can you help me with that? We'll see what I made it emotional again. Or, hey, I'm stuck over here in Europe and they just froze my accounts. Can you send me $4,000? I'll give it right back to you. Well, if I've spent 3, 4, 5, 6 months with you, you're more likely to do that. And it's never, hey, give me money. There's always some emotional attachment to it. They have to do an emotional attachment to it. And it is typically either a medical emergency or a business emergency. My $865,000 victim, the perpetrator would send them funds, $15,000, $16,000, $20,000, and say, hey, we're opening a business together. I'm coming back over to the States. We're going to be business partners. I'm going to send you money. Now add some of your funds and send it over here. Well, I'm sending you 10 grand, put 30 grand with it and put it over here, and that's for our business. I'm sending you 18 grand, put 45 grand with it and send it over here for our business. And $865,000 later, and on that one, so I have a real good relationship with my banks, and if they think there's any of that going on, they will call me, and I will do a welfare check on the account holder. And this was the case. The victim walked out of the bank that morning with $120,000 worth of cashier's checks, and the bank called me and said, "Hey, there's some really funky activity. Like everything was the same for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, there's a whole lot of money going out, and she's getting transfers in internationally." So I go down there and I sit down and talk with them, and I pretty much convinced them that they were like, "Oh yeah, I see the red flags now. I can't believe it. You're right." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Take that $120,000 back to the bank." And they're like, "Okay, I'll take it back to the bank." And I called the bank like an hour later. I said, "Are they back with the cashier?" Because the cashier's check, if you took it out, even though you paid it the order to somebody else, you can put it right back in your account. And the bank was like, "No, they haven't come back here." So I called. I said, "Hey, you need to take those checks to the bank. I'm not going to let you send those checks to the bad guy," because there was still a little bit of apprehension, okay? Because again, you've got this relationship and you've got these heartstrings and you've already got all this other money tied up into this, so it's a lot to break somebody from it. So 2 hours go by, I call the bank, hey, so-and-so been up there. No, they haven't. I'm like, okay, forget this. So I drive down there, knock on the door, I'm like, you're going to the bank, you're gonna put those in your account, either in the back of my car, or I'll follow you. So we went back to I followed her to the bank and we put it back in there. And so a couple weeks later, it finally came to fruition. It came to the light bulb finally just completely came on. And she came in and gave us all this stuff, and we tried to track and trace some more money, but it's gone. 99.9% of these scammers, the moment the money is sent, whether it's gift card, Western Union, or they love wire transfers and direct deposits now, it's overseas, it's gone. It goes to non-extradition countries like Ghana and Jamaica, Nigeria, and the Ukraine. Those are the 4 big ones that it does. But that's the romance scam. So the next one is, we used to call it the lottery scam, but it's kind of lottery, they've kind of changed it. They have to craft, times change. So nowadays it's Publishers Clearinghouse. And the reason being is because we all grew up seeing Ed McMahon with a big check and some balloons come to your house, right? Yeah. We think that's legitimate, so that's what they use against us. If Ed McMahon comes to your house, call the morgue because they're missing a body, okay? He's been dead a little bit, probably a little gooey. But that's what they use. You're gonna, this is Publishers Clearinghouse. You've won $22 million and a brand new Mercedes. I've never gotten that whole Mercedes shtick, but that's the scheme. $22 million and a brand new Mercedes. And, you've won this. Now, most seniors are like, I've got money, I'm fine, I'm good, I've got enough to live out my days. Well, so how do they make it emotional? They start talking about it's your family, it's your grandkids. Well, do you have a granddaughter going to college? Do they have student loans? Can they pay for their wedding? Can they? My daughter goes to Clemson. She has a lot of student loans and a lot of daddy debt. So that's what they do. They get it emotional. It's never about you. It's always about hey, you can take care of this, or you can give more to the church, or you can. They make it a lot more emotional. So, and then they start telling you, the couriers at Tampa International Airport, we need $2,000 for the tax day. They're right there. Well, if you don't want to give us the $2,000, we'll just send them back. But they're 20 miles from your house. And so then what happens is start sending money, and then it's more and more and more. I had a victim, and a bank called me back in February. This is a Publishers Clearinghouse scam. Bank called me back in February, and I went down and I talked to this victim, and oh man, she was nasty to me. I will send my money where I want to. These are friends. I'm not caught up in a scam. And this is the fog that the bad guys put them in. They suck them in. If you tell anybody, you're not going to win it. And, everybody just wants your winnings. Then, even if the cops come and the bank asks, they're just trying to get your $22 million and your brand new Mercedes. So I go down there, and she was ugly to me. I'm like, okay, well, if you send any more money, I'm going to call your family. I'm like, since you won't listen to me, maybe you'll listen to them. And then I left. Well, then in April, I got a call from a different bank. It said, hey, something's going on. Here's the person. And I'm like, that name's familiar. So I look it up in my calendar. I'm like, okay, I've been down there. I'm going down there again. So go down there, and the same thing happens. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just calling your family. I'm like, you're not listening to me. I'm like, so about 9 days later, she comes in with her family to my office and sits down with my assistant to do a report. It's a Publishers Clearinghouse scam. $313,000 since the end of February. Most of it was they would go to their bank, get a cashier's check, and then direct deposit into what we call a funnel account that the bad guys then go suck out in Jamaican ATMs. So I sit down and I go through it, and the funny part about this is as mean as she was to me, I was able to find about 70 grand that I've got frozen right now. And on the Assistant U.S. Attorney's desk is seizure warrants, because there's some in Regions, some in Bank of America, some in Wells Fargo, and some in TD Bank. So I will actually be able to get 70 grand back just by sheer luck. I usually don't get a whole lot back when these scams happen, because the scammers usually take it out right then. So either these guys are new or they just didn't touch the funds quick enough. But here's the bad part. If she listened to me back in February, would be a whole lot more that they would have saved. But so when she was in there, I sat down with her and I'm like, I went to your house twice. I'm like, the bank talked to you. I'm like, what finally got you to figure this thing out? And she says, well, the bad guy told me the other day to destroy all my notes. And I'm like, your family telling you, me telling you? She's like, no, I figured all y'all just wanted my money. Y'all just wanted they had me convinced that y'all wanted my $22 million in my Mercedes-Benz. That's how convincing, that's what they do to you. They drag you in.
Well,
I had a couple.
Family anyway.
I had a couple that did $700,000 on a Publishers Clearinghouse scam, and this was one of the worst ones that I had ever seen. A bank calls me, do a welfare check. I go down there. I go into their house, and there's on their breakfast table they've got just all these bills, and past due, closed account, this and that, and I was like, So I sat down with them, and hey, what's going on? What's happening? We sold one of our cars. We're 4 months behind on rent. I mean, just a whole lot of, and through the store I found out that they had sent $700,000 on a Publishers Clearinghouse scam. And that $700,000 came from not only their retirement account, but they had a paid for house. They mortgaged the house, sent all the mortgage proceeds. They then sold the house to an investor, reassumed the mortgage, so they had a mortgage and the rent on the house. Then they sold the car and sent those proceeds. So, I mean, it was like all their investment accounts were closed except for one. They took out 3 credit cards, maxed them out, and sent them. I mean, this was as bad as you could get. But they were so far down that hole, they had to get the $22 million in the Mercedes-Benz. They were cognizant. I mean, they volunteered at places down there. They were part of the Crafters Club and the Quilting Club. And I mean, it wasn't like they were shut-ins. They had one of my magnets on their fridge door. It was like call that number. And here's this one gets a little worse. So they have only money in one investment house left. I call that investment house and I say, hey, look, they're 4 months behind on rent, but I honestly believe if you send the rent to them, they're gonna send it to my bad guys. I say, so send it directly to their rental company. Here's the name, here's the address right here in Tampa, there's the person, it's 4 months, this is what it equates to. Send it to them. Next week, let's all sit together and figure out if they've got enough to live out their days, or figure out a financial safety plan. Okay, great, sounds good. That was on like a Thursday. So then like Tuesday, Sarah's my assistant, she calls me and she says, hey, that couple wants to know if you have an x-ray machine. I've been in law enforcement 24 years, and I don't think anybody's ever asked if I've had an x-ray machine. Most bizarre thing. So I go over there, I go over to the house, I'm like, what do y'all need an x-ray machine for? And he says, well, the bad guys have sent us, he didn't say bad guys, but he said, we got some of our winnings. I was like, okay. And he takes a safe and sets it on the breakfast table. It's just one of those little $40 Walmart safes. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And he said, if I send them money, they'll give me the code to the safe. So I hit the buttons on the safe, and the little lights don't light up, so they don't even have batteries in the safe for the code to work. That's number one. So, and I said, well, why the x-ray machine? He said, well, they said that it would blow up if anybody tried to break into it. And I was like, okay. I said, and then I looked at him, I'm like, when did you get the safe? He's like, we got it this morning. I said, did you happen to pay your rent? He's like, and he kind of lowered his head, and I'm like, they sent the money to you and you sent it to the bad guy, didn't you? He goes, yeah, every bit of it. He's like, I pulled it out of my, whatever it was, account and immediately deposited the bad guys. That's why I got the safe. So I have good workers' comp, so I went and broke in. I took the safe out to the driveway and broke into it, knowing it wasn't going to blow up. The only thing in there was a King James Bible. That was just insult to injury. So, but then I called the investment house, because at this point I'm like, they just sent 4 months rent to the bad guys, which should have gone to rent. So they're still, now they're, when they're $6,000 lower and rent's not paid. So I call the investment house, because it's about $1,500 in rent a month. I call the investment house, and I'm like, hey, I told y'all to pay the rent directly, that they're stuck in this loop, and I can't get them out. And by this point I had talked to all their family members, and all their family members had said, we can't get them out of the loop either. That's how far down the hole they were. And so the person on the other end of the phone said, yeah, we've watched this happen over the last few months. And I'm like, you're a fiduciary. You're supposed to be responsible for their money, and you've watched this. It's exploitation. There are legal means for you not only to stop and withhold funds, but for you to report this legally. You have to. You've watched this happen. You've done nothing. They're like, yeah, we've watched them, go their investment account go from about $1 million to about $200,000. I mean, I have never wanted to reach through the phone and pull somebody back through so bad before. But like your banks and your investment houses, they're not watching out for you like you think they are. 100%. I mean, that is a number one prime example. And it's a reputable investment house, but they stood by and watched it happen. So a lot of the Publishers Clearinghouse lottery scam is pretty nasty. They get a lot of money out of that one. So we've got the romance scam. We've got the lottery Publishers Clearinghouse scam. So the next one is Impersonation Scam. This is number 3 on our list. And a couple different things fall under this. Used to be we called it the Irs Scam. Right. Well, we've educated everybody, and they know that the IRS doesn't call you if you owe them money, right? And if anybody's ever tried to call the IRS, you swear there's one phone for that entire big building, right? So they've had to change it. They've had to get with the time. So now it's Social Security. Yeah. Now they impersonate Social Security. Yeah. And what they do is they tell you they're going to cut off your benefits. They're going to cut off your Social Security benefits plus your Medicaid and Medicare. Well, think about what kind of crisis that your brain goes into when somebody says, hey, your Medicaid, your Medicare, and your Social Security is cut off, and we're cutting it off tomorrow. Well, I got doctor's appointments tomorrow. I got bills to pay. I've got rent coming up. I've got TICO due. I've got water due. And that's the kind of loop that they'll suck you into with the Social Security scam. They'll make it emotional. And also under this impersonation scam is the Grandparent Scam, where used to be, and they still do it every once in a while, they'll call up and say, hey, Grandma, Granddad, I'm in trouble, I need some money. Yeah. Oh, hey, Bob. You innocuously give them the information that they need. Right. Now they like to pose as the attorney or the booking agent, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's booking agent or wherever booking agent. Hey, your grandson, your granddaughter, they're in jail. This A, B, or C happened. We need money for the public defender. We need money for bond. There's a gag order in the court. This is the only phone call that they're going to make, and it's to you. And it's emotional. It's your grandbaby, okay? Stuck in jail. They owe all this money. All this stuff happened. We had one, and it was a little over $500,000. And so what happened is they called, said, hey, your granddaughter is in jail. She was DUI. She hit another car. She injured the other party who's in the hospital, a pregnant lady who's in the hospital. The judge has already issued a gag order because of COVID, so you can't tell anybody else. I'm the public defender. She's going to need about $4,800 for her bond, for her to actually be released on jail until her court date. And then I'm going to need about $15,000 to $20,000 to help defend this. So then the person calls back, a couple days later and gets the rest of the money. Then that attorney calls back about 3 days later and says, hey, there were damages to the vehicle. If we can pay for the damages now, court for the DUI won't be so bad, because it's DUI, it's reckless driving, reckless endangerment, and then injury crash. So pay a little more money. Then a couple days later, call back, says, hey, that pregnant lady, her medical bills are really racking up, and we need to start covering those. We need to show that we're starting to cover those, and that has actually eclipsed your granddaughter's insurance coverage. So what does she do? She sends a little more money, okay? Then calls back a couple days later. Hey, she's in physical therapy, so her medical bills are even more. Pays a little more. Calls back a few days later. Hey, not only, we've just found out that during the wreck, they knocked over some poles that belong to the city. So we've got to cover those damages as well. I just got a copy of the accident report that shows that. So they pay that as well. So that's how it accumulated in the span of about 4 months to a little over $500,000. Now here's the bad part. That granddaughter sat with them in between that time, but they had them so scared of the COVID gag order and witness tampering that they didn't ask. They sat, had dinner, lunch, never this close to, never asked. That's how good they were at convincing my victim that, again, there was a gag order, and if you talk to anybody, including her, you'd be witness tampering. Okay? I'm telling you, they're that good. So that's the impersonation scam. And then our fourth one is the Amazon scam. So the top four: romance scam, lottery, publishers clearinghouse scam, impersonation scam, and then Amazon scam. What happens with the Amazon scam is you get a text or an email or a phone call saying that you purchased a stereo receiver for $6,800, right? You called it and you call this number. Well, I didn't purchase a stereo receiver for $6,800, so you call the number and they say, oh, well, you did, I've got it right here. Well, I don't want it. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop it, and we've already charged your account, so I'm going to refund it. And then I've refunded, actually I gave you too much. Hold on, let me see if I can undo that. All right, nope, I couldn't undo it. All right, will you click on the link that's in the text of the email I just sent you, and that way you can check and see if I did it right. And they click on the link, and the moment that happens, they take over your online accounts that are on your phone or your computer. Then they manipulate, and they show that they overpaid you. So they show in your account, and then they go into panic mode. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I gave you more money. Just go get some Amazon gift cards. Okay, well, I'm Amazon. You can pay me in Amazon gift cards. Just go get them for the overage that I put in your account. And I can't buy that many Amazon gift cards, Okay, well then just mail cash to the Amazon Fulfillment Center. Here's the address. Well, we had it. So last Christmas had a victim of the Amazon scam. They went to Walmart, purchased a backpack and birthday wrapping paper. Put $50,000 cash in the backpack, wrapped it in the birthday paper, took it to the UPS store, boxed it up, and sent it overnight. The reason they wrapped it up is so that the UPS store wouldn't really ask what was in it. And luckily with COVID, overnight to California takes more than just overnight. So I was able to, and we intercepted it in Arizona with the help of Postal, got it sent back. They got their $50,000. But that goes to show you again, just even something as simple as an Amazon scam where they say you bought $6,800 worth of stuff and they turn it into a $50,000 profit, just like that.
Can I tell you that just happened to me this week?
That just happened to you this week?
He said, I'm from Amazon Prime. Did you buy $55,000 worth of computer parts in New York? a certain town in New York, Albany, New York. And I said, no, and I'm not paying for it. And he said, okay, then I'm going to help you. We're going to get this off your account. I might have to put a freeze on your account. And he went on, and finally I said, okay, take care of it, I'm done. And he said, no, I think you need to talk to our investigative department.
Yeah, and see, it's
And then
just
I
the whole,
said, I'm not giving anyone any information, so I don't want to talk to anybody. So then you know what he said? Okay, but this is probably going to go to court to get your money back, and since you wouldn't cooperate with this, you may not get it back. And you know what I did then? Goodbye.
But
How did it
he
even-
was trying to suck you in.
How did it even get started?
Because all they call everybody and they email everybody and they text everybody. There's enough Amazon accounts, they will get somebody. All right, it's just a numbers game. It is 100% a numbers game. So, all right, Deputy Mayor, you scared the living poopy out of us. You know, what can I do? What the heck can I do? All right, there are two things, and if you walk away from here with these two things, all right, you will hopefully stay out of my office, which I don't have an office in Temple Terrace, so it would be a different office. But number one, most important, if you don't walk out, if you don't remember anything else today, okay, number one, trust but verify. On every single one of these things, if you verify, you'll figure out it's not a scam.
Yep.
If Amazon calls you and says, hey, you just bought $55,000 worth of stuff on your Amazon account, okay, good. Give me a moment. Let me verify it on my Amazon account. And you can go on your Amazon account and look and see that there's not $55,000 worth of stuff on your Amazon account. If Social Security calls you and says, hey, we overpaid you back in June of 2017, so we have to stop your Social Security unless you pay us that. Okay, great. I'll call you back in just a moment. Click, call Social Security, and verify it. Okay? If Publishers Clearinghouse says you won, right, $22 million in a brand new Mercedes, call Publishers Clearinghouse and verify it. Okay? If somebody friends you on social media, verify it. Hey, John, is this really you? Hey, Fred, is this really you? Because it could be a cloned account. Trust, but verify it. Okay? So, any one of those scams, and pretty much any scam, you know, if your granddaughter calls and says she's in jail, you know, in Tijuana, okay, call your granddaughter. Or call your granddaughter and anybody else that's associated with her. Trust it, okay, great, wow, give me a moment, but verify it. If you get an email from your bank that says, you know, there's $40,000 in fraudulent charges, okay, good. Don't click on anything or call anything in that email. You go verify it. All right, trust, but verify. Take that with you. Anything and everything in this world, trust, but verify. That's number one. Number two, I tell everybody to have that person in their life, that confidant, that friend, that person they can talk anything through. You know, the person that, you know, wouldn't necessarily bail you out of jail, but would be there with you, okay? That kind of person in your life, that confidant. So, the reason being, I want you, when anything happens, when anybody wants money or anything crisis happen, I want you to talk to that person. Why is that? Because it'll make you yourself singularly focused on what's going on. It'll take you out of whatever loop the bad guys or scammers or whoever has stuck you in. Because the moment you, hey Brad, Publishers Clearinghouse called me and said I won 20, you won't even finish the sentence by the time you figure out yourself, okay, it's a scam. You know, it gets you out of that moment. It draws you out of that emotional loop that they've stuck you in, makes you think for a moment, and again, before you even get it all out of your mouth, the little light bulb will pop and you'll be like, never mind, I'm good. We got it. Okay? So those are the two biggest things that I tell everybody. Trust but verify, and then have that person that you can talk anything through with. So, Now, I'm going to take some questions. Yes, sir.
Well, I think I heard you say it, just to reiterate, because I think it's such great advice, and trust but verify, because it's going to happen to friends and family too. Don't verify with the contact that the bad guy gives you.
Right.
They say, oh, you want to verify? Here, just call this number. No. Hang up, turn the computer off. Then
You go find that number, that email, you go do it.
Yeah.
So, the Bank of America email comes in, don't call that number, actually go Google Bank of America or go into your Bank of America branch.
Yeah.
So, trust but verified. So don't let them verify it. You go out here and verify it on your own. No. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we just got from Suncoast, they told us to look at the ULR line because the name of the bank is usually spelled wrong, and that's how you run away.
Right. In most of your spam emails, yes, if you look at who it's from, it's all gobbledygook sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of verifying. Okay, I can look at that. I can see that that's to Ukraine with love, or what what Russian mobsters are us. But yeah, absolutely.
But we get, this is a church office, and I answer the phone, I can't tell you how many times. We get them on the church office phone, but the best one is the light company. You haven't paid your bill in 3
Yeah.
months ago. We know we've paid it.
Right, and see, that's another impersonation scam. So when Tico calls you and says, "Hey, you owe $300," I don't think I'm behind on my electricity. All right, well, I'll call you back in a little bit and take care of it. Hang the phone up, go over here, find your Tico bill or Google Tico, call the real number. Hey, do I owe you any money? No. Well, of course you do. It's Tico. We, rates keep going up. But yes, trust but verify. Well, all right. I know y'all are in Temple Terrace. I'll get to you in just a second. I know y'all are in Temple Terrace, but I honestly, I have an open door policy, and I guess for y'all it'll be an open phone policy. If you have any questions or any problem like this and need some guidance, call me, reach out to me. My substation number, if y'all got pen and paper,
Yeah.
I'll give you a moment. It's 813 242 5515.
And what,
242 5515.
and what's her name again?
So my assistant is Sarah.
Okay.
She'll answer the phone or it will go to voicemail, but I promise you we will get back with you. Look, you're not bothering me. I'll tell you right now, I would rather take 5 minutes on the phone with you and us figure out that something is a scam or you shouldn't do something versus you going to the Temple Terrace office and filing a $80,000 fraud report. Okay? That's what I'm here for. Call me. It's fine. All right, if Sarah can't help you, she'll send it to me and I'll call you back and I'll help you. But just one thing. We work Monday, her and I work banker's hours, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4:30. So if you call us on Saturday, and for goodness sake, we're not 911, okay? I can't respond to you from Sun City Center. It would take me forever and a day. Yes, ma'am. Deputy Jeff, and then my last name is Merry. Just like Merry Christmas. 242-5515. And you had a question.
Just two quick ones. There is a legitimate clearinghouse.
Yes.
There is? Okay.
Yes, but your odds of winning are...
I don't do it. I mean, I thought it was in the
Yeah,
past.
you have to buy like 40 million different subscriptions, and then they put your name in it's a whole big... just pretend that it doesn't exist, that it's all a
The thing
scam.
was, when you were talking, you said you would often say to them, you gave the bad guys, did you really address them as bad guys in your conversation, or no?
When I talk to them, like when I go out to a victim's house, oh yeah, 100%. I said the scammer. You're talking to a scammer. This is not they're not your friend. They're not Todd Sloan from Publishers Clearinghouse. They're not, I'm like, it's a bad guy.
So
And I'm like,
after you say bad guys so many times, you think they would get it.
sometimes they're just, again,
Emotional.
it's somebody that has spent a lot of time in their ear Like even on the Publishers Clearinghouse, they talk to that couple 4 or 5 hours a day. Well, who do you believe the most? The person that's right in front of you. And of course they spent 4 or 5 hours a day. You sent them $700,000 over a span of like 8 months. I mean, $100,000 a month. Hey, I'll call you and talk to you 5 hours a day too. So it's whoever's in front of them, and so that's where they get dragged into. So, but I appreciate y'all letting me be here. If y'all need anything, please reach out to me. Don't be afraid to. Even though y'all are way up here, we'll do our best to help you take care of it. All right? Thank you.
Thank you so much.